Hello. In today's video, I'm going to go over the advice I would give to newbie writers. I'd like to preface this by saying that I don't believe that writing has rules. I believe that writing is art, and whatever method works for one person may not work for another. So, from any of my videos going on, please don't think of it as you need to do this, you must do this, but as a suggestion of you could try this out. And if it works for you, great. And if it doesn't, I hope that you find something that does work. The first thing I would say to a new writer is write what you want to write. That may seem obvious, but things may happen where you feel forced to write something that you didn't want to write. So try to stay true to yourself and write what you want to write. There are some things that I think would be helpful to figure out before you start writing. The first one being if you are a plotter or a discovery writer. And if you don't know what those terms mean, or you're not entirely sure how to go about figuring that out, my next video I will go more in depth about plotting versus discovery writing. My next suggestion is to back up your work. And this could be either in a physical copy or on something like the cloud. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but I had someone help me set it up. And the reason why I suggest this is because you don't want to be like me, where your computer crashes and you end up having a corrupt hard drive and you lose all your work and you're crying because it's all gone. There's nothing you can really salvage. And if you can salvage something, it's just bits and pieces here and there. Now, there is a method of writing where you will write your first draft and then you throw it away and you start over again from scratch, and you write it again. And I remember reading an article where this happened to a guy, and he was at first worried because he was on a deadline and he had to have this book done to publish it, and then he lost it, and then he just was frantically rewriting everything. But at the end of it, he felt like it was better the second time he wrote it versus the first time. And when that sort of situation happened to him again, he wasn't as stressed because he knew that him writing it again would be better than the first time. So you could back up your work, or if you're the type of writer where, you would be better suited if you just write everything all over again from memory, then maybe it's not as important to you. I will link the article I read down in the description. The next thing before you start writing is to know who you're writing for. Are you writing for yourself or are you writing for others? I personally write for myself first. I write to satisfy myself. I write the things that I want to read and what I would enjoy. That's my thing when I'm writing. But I do know that there are people who write for others. And if you are that sort of person, I would suggest narrowing it down to the demographic that you're trying to please, or even more to a specific person, a sibling, a partner, just a specific person, and cater to that person's needs and wants. And the last thing I suggest figuring out before you start writing is selecting the right POV for your story. And I will be making a video about the different POVs, and hopefully that can help you out if you don't understand what I mean by find the right POV for your story. Okay, so I guess more onto the juicier bits of writing advice. So you're staring at a blank page, and maybe you are filled with anxiety, thinking, I'm trying to professionally write. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. What do I do now? And you're just like, oh man, getting overwhelmed thinking of how people write so much stuff and just fill this, a book's worth of writing, and you're just staring at a blank screen. Well, if you are feeling anxious over that blank page, take a deep breath, relax, know that you can do it, that you can write, and just start. I don't necessarily want to sound like Shia LaBeouf and be like, just do it, but I mean, essentially what you have to do. You just start. But where do you start? It doesn't really matter where you start. If you had planned it out, then I guess start from the beginning. Or even if you did plan it out, you could just start wherever you really feel you want to write. If you really want to write that one climactic scene, write that. If you want to start with the inciting incident, start with that. If you wanted to write this really sad part that's going to happen in your story eventually, start with that. I don't know. Start wherever you want. It doesn't need to be in order. So my next suggestion, I guess, would be more, don't worry so much about your writing. It would be a first draft. And for the most part, first drafts are crap. They are generally garbage, and it's fine if it's like that, because you can polish it later. You can revise, you can edit, and make it into something better. But it's better to work with something than with nothing. Now, the reason why I said that most of the time first drafts are crap is because there are writers where they will write something, like a sentence, and they will not move past that sentence until it is perfect. And thus, by the time they are done with their, quote, first draft, it's more like their 80th draft or something, because they did not move until it was perfect. That works for some people, not for me. I need the more satisfaction of thinking, I completed this chapter, I completed this paragraph, I completed this scene. I know I said that out of order, but I need that sort of feeling of accomplishment, and that helps with me and motivation, which I'll talk more about motivation in some other video. But circling back to this point, don't worry so much. Don't focus on, is this a tell? Is this a show? Is this good prose? Don't worry about the formatting, the paragraph length, the chapter length. Just focus on what you want to write and putting it on paper. That's what I would suggest you do at first. Now, let's say you've been writing a bit and you get stuck. My suggestion is skip it. Just put in brackets, insert name, insert scene, and just move along. I think that it's a lot better to keep your momentum going than to think, oh my god, I'm stuck, and then just think, oh wow, I have such writer's block, I have no idea what I'm doing. Just skip it and go to the next part. I will try to make a video about getting stuck later, or how to get unstuck, I guess. But if worst case you do stay stuck and you have tremendous writer's block, then work on another project. I mean, maybe you've been focusing too much on it, and maybe the mindset you put yourself in has made you stuck. So if you work on something else, that could help. Wow, I'm already talking about the video that I said that I would talk about later. Okay. The last thing, back to topic, the last thing I would talk about, advice I would give to a new writer, is don't wait for inspiration to strike you. If you do want to pursue writing as a career, there are going to be times that you have to force yourself to write. And the thing is, it is going to take a lot of hours. This is going to be the equivalent to a part-time job or a full-time job. So if you want to make a career out of this, make a living off of your writing, you can't just wait for inspiration. Otherwise, well, I mean, you're not going to be able to publish work because you're not putting in the hours. Now, if you are a hobbyist and you write for fun, obviously ignore this. Write whenever you want. I'm sorry, I lied. There was one more thing that I wanted to give as advice to new readers. Forgive me. The actual last thing I wanted to suggest was to check out Brandon Sanderson's lectures. I will have that link down in the description. But those are a great introduction to writing, to get a good grasp, to get a good foundation. And even if you are an advanced writer, they're a nice refresher, and it could help you understand things a little bit differently or a little bit better. Something else that you could check out would be a book by Gary Prevost. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but the book is called Make Every Word Count. And so far, that is the best writing advice book I've read. I agree with a lot of what's there. And the thing about it is, it's written in such a way where it's not boring. It's art. It feels artistic. It's kind of like how Brandon Sanderson talks during his lectures. It's filled with this sort of energy and charisma that just makes things easier to absorb. So I highly suggest reading the book Make Every Word Count by Gary Prevost. I will link the book down in the descriptions as well. With that said, please come back. I know I just suggested checking out Brandon Sanderson's lectures and Gary Prevost's book, which those are great medias to take in if you are a new writer, or even if you are a advanced writer. It helps you get a better grasp. So it kind of brings to the question of, well, why would I come back here? And hopefully you do enjoy me enough where you want to hear the advice I give, and it's not repetitive and things you've heard a million times, hopefully. So please come back. And I think that about concludes the things I wanted to cover in this video. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my video. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to wear sunscreen, and I hope to see you again. Bye for now.